probably read it, but for those of you looking at this from the public's perspective, and in case any of you haven't read it, here's the highlights. We went through and really made only minor technical changes. As I mentioned earlier, the examples include including the adopted mission and vision statement that was established a while ago for the first time in Yelm's history, and then incorporated into the budget. That's something we've been living by, hasn't been incorporated into the mayor and city council protocol manual. Little things like updating the time and the date and the location of city council meetings. That's kind of important. Updating the address to City Hall, replacing the finance director with the treasurer. That was a long-standing position that has been done away with a long time ago. So just updating some minor language like that relating to personnel. Updating budget references from annual to biennial, consistent with the new approach that we take to budgeting biennially. Adding our current practice of providing monthly budget reports instead of annual reports, which is something that was apparently done in the past. We now do regular monthly reports, and then we also do, as part of our biennial budget, quarterly budget updates, and then of course the mid-buy adjustment is required by RCW. We also cleaned up some headings to make them more specific to the content that followed there. And so I think there was one move where it talked about mayor and council, and it referenced the council, but it had no anchoring to the mayor. And so I went in there and moved that text from one place to another, and that was really the only shift there that I recall. With that, I'll just hand it over to EJ and Tad and to Tracy. This is a collaborative effort of just really making technical changes. If you guys want to say anything, and then really open it up to the council to see if you have any thoughts on it, or if any of you came prepared with amendments that you guys would like to discuss. But the floor is yours.
Well, I read it through twice, and I'm satisfied with it.
Yeah, I think that, excuse me, that, this is kind of the low hanging fruit that we picked that was super, super easy. And then we can all, as a council, get involved, and start making those tougher changes. I know that we've all talked about different things, and we need to start, putting pen to paper and getting this down. So these things are just really, I don't know.
Housekeeping.
I think so. Now is when, I know it's been brought up before, and we just need input to continue this work going forward. It's really a bit daunting, and that's just a tough process. So input is welcome as always.
I had a question. I scanned it briefly just before the meeting, and I noticed the little portion there on ethics where we're talking about due respect and all this stuff. Was there, and it had a notation to the full code, which I didn't read. Is there any, I guess this is directed to Mayor Foster, is there any protocol for reviewing suspected ethical things that we might bring up? I just know in the past there were some things that were like, but there was no discussion or recourse or anything. So is that part of the other section or not? If you understand my question.
I believe I can answer that question in the protocol manual and backed up with other documents that we have adopted by review. The council and or the mayor has the ability to bring forward to council a request to review the actions of any other council member if you believe that they have violated the ethics or other rules that are laid down and agreed to by the council. If you feel that's happened, then the way it works is you have to alert that council member or the mayor of your suspected infraction with documentation 10 days prior to bringing it forward to council for consideration. At the council meeting then, they would be presented with that information, and if they felt at a majority felt that it was important enough to hold an official review, then they would vote on that and set a date for an official review of those actions. Once that review was done, based on their determination, they have several things that they could do to sanction that council member or the mayor for that infraction. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think I had asked that before. And again, this was a long time ago when I was new, but I didn't realize that all that was in place. I wasn't told that at the time. So thank you for clarification.
Section 10, chapter 10.
Okay.
And just to go off that, what kind of actions could be placed on council members or the mayor?
So the actions are, I'm doing this off the top of my head, Joe, but it's censure, which is simply saying, you shouldn't have done that. And then the others are removal from committees and internal boards, and also removal from extraterritorial boards and commissions. And that council has that authority under the RCW to do that through that process.
Yeah, and I'll just read it. Nice job, Mayor. Off the cuff. In section 10, it says, upon finding that a knowing and or willful failure to adhere to the provisions of this protocol manual has occurred, the council shall proceed to determine whether the sanctions, if any, should be imposed. Appropriate sanctions may include, but are not limited to, the following: public censure, removal of appointment to extraterritorial boards, committees, or commissions, and removal of appointment to boards and committees.
It's almost as if I just read that. And Grant has it up on the screen for us to take a look at. So yes, Terry, it's in the protocol manual.
Was this
I
added
have,
or?
can you guys hear me?
Yes.
You can. Okay, I have a couple of really tiny housekeeping ones on here. On page 12 of the actual PDF, number 2.03, it says that the mayor should only cast a tie-breaking vote with regards to matters other than the passage of an ordinance, grant, revocation, etc. And I'm kind of wondering what else is there? You know, what do we vote on? We vote on ordinances, grants, revocations, contracts, etc. If the mayor can vote, break ties.
Which section?
So Molly,
Like it's the passage of with other than the passage of an ordinance. I guess I'm wondering, what can the mayor vote on to break a tie?
so my understanding of that is, and you're very right in reading that, it's fairly limited in that I couldn't do it on any of those ordinances or anything having to do with money. But for example, when we did an appointment to the city council, that's one that's not monetary. And there are, a number of other non-monetary ones. What the RCW does allow the mayor to do, although I can't vote in favor of a tie, I can veto the ordinance, in which case then the city council would have to take it back under consideration with any objections that I might have had to it, and then reconsider that. And they would have to have a majority +1 to overrule the veto.
Right. Okay, page 13 of the PDF. I'd like to actually discuss the line that says that the mayor, quote, leads the council in process of establishing goals and priorities. With all due respect, I think that that's kind of the council's job. And I don't know if it's the mayor's job to lead the council in doing that. That's kind of council's, that's one of our main jobs, is to determine goals and priorities. And that's what we're supposed to be doing at these study sessions. Just food for thought.
Where are you reading again, please?
That's on page 13 of the actual PDF. Let me see if I can find it. Not where it says, not on the bottom where it says Yelm City Council Protocol Manual, but the actual PDF that you guys emailed to us for the agenda tonight. So let me see if I can find it.
Perhaps you could reference it by
on-
number like 2.07.
Yeah,
or
it's
something.
on the manual page 10 in section,
2.03,
page
and
13,
it's
sorry.
and it's on the screen if you can see it.
2.03, role of mayor. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it's under the role of mayor. And it's, do you see where you have all of that stuff added as bullet numbers
Yeah,
on page 13 of the PDF?
gotcha.
Right. You have proposed policy and implement as adopted by council, work with staff to develop preliminary budget. And then about 3/4 of the way down, you have lead council in process of establishing goals and priorities.
Yeah, thank you. That's in reference to our past practice of every couple of years, we're supposed to have a special study session that leads us towards, our goals. We actually haven't done that for a number of years since our
Right.
last retreat type of thing. But it's just a semantics thing in that I lead the meetings like I'm leading this meeting. It doesn't mean that I would be proposing things, just running the meeting.
Right. Well, I mean, because even in a retreat, like you wouldn't be at the retreat, you know?
Well, in the
So, I
past,
mean-
the protocol manual does call for an annual coming together of the council to discuss our priorities for the coming year. We could do it as a special study session, or you could do it as a retreat. And past practice has been indeed for the mayor to be present at those meetings ever since I've been on council. We just didn't do it this last year because of obvious obstructions to that. You can certainly take the word lead out if you'd like. It's participate in or whatever else you'd like, but it would make sense for the entire legislative body of.
Yeah, I'd rather have the word, I'd have had the words participate in the process of establishing goals.
We can certainly do that. Sure.
And then the last one, and this is totally silly, on 3.04, let me find it here. Down at the bottom of the page, you have the word telefax. Maybe we should change that to email. Because I don't know if anybody telefaxes anything anymore.
I'm sorry we missed that one. Yeah, we'll go through that again with a modern fine-toothed comb and fix those references to archaic communication devices. I made a note on my phone to do that.
Yeah. Okay, I think that's all I have for this. I think it looks good. You guys did a good job. Thank you so much for working on this. So that was a big, 60 pages is a lot to bite off and chew. So thank you.
Anyone else?
Yeah, there's a
Go ahead,
couple that I had. Thank you. There's a couple that I had. Sorry, I'm trying to find this now. Would you come back to me, please?
Yeah.
Oh, what are the yellow highlighted things? Were those things that you guys were going to go back and look to make sure that those were the right places, like Appendix 3 or whatever? You've got a bunch of yellow highlights.
Yes, those were things that I told them once you guys land the plane on what the verbiage is, then we can go back and make appropriate updates and references to RCWs and things of that sort that's there, appendixes.
Yeah.
You'll see them sprinkled throughout because as you know, like we're doing, this is you have the boards and commissions as one appendix and other things of that sort. And so we just want to make sure that they all nest together, but at least that way you're mindful that they do exist and they do anchor to this guiding document.
Okay, that's what I thought.
All right, I found it. Under 5.04, proclamations and resolutions. I'm just curious why it was changed, why it eliminated the council's ability to do proclamations. And it puts it under the auspices of the mayor. It strikes proclamations are issued by the council and proclaimed by the mayor. it strikes council and proclaimed by and just puts proclamations are issued by the mayor. What was the reason behind that, General Government Committee?
This was a change that that we talked about from the perspective of and again, it's just kind of getting in line with the current recent practice of mayor has been proclaiming things and the council has been doing resolutions, and so trying to true up that verbiage of mayor, ceremonial aspect of things, council, weight of law or policy. That was at least the intent by this.
I don't see, I mean, the mayor can still do proclamations. It just prevents the council from being able to do it. So I'm not, I'm not a fan of that personally. I was just curious if anyone on the General Government Committee would want to speak to that, or their thoughts on it. I will take the silence as a no.
I think it's an unintended consequence. So good catch.
Some suggested wording, Joe, how would you change that to make it? Because I agree with you that it should be something that's clearly a proclamation comes from on behalf of the city council, and I'm proclaiming. Typically, you'll see that in the wording of those is that on behalf of the city council, I, J.W. Foster, la la la. But we could certainly change the wording to reflect that more accurately.
Well, I would like to see it where both the city, I mean, city council can do it right now. We just don't currently. We don't ever vote on proclamations. You make a proclamation and issue it on behalf of the city, but you don't issue it on behalf of the city council because the city council doesn't vote on them. Had we vote on them and have you proclaimed, and then yeah, it would be an actual proclamation in my mind. But currently we don't really do that. So we don't have any city council proclamations. I would just leave it as it is. It would still give the ability for the mayor to issue proclamations, and it would still give the ability to the city council, should we decide to create a proclamation of the city council, let us have that option still.
Yeah, so just eliminate the strike through language in line 1, but leave all the other new language and clarifications that the committee added. Okay.
My other concern was regarding absences. We don't currently do anything with absences. I mean, we excuse people. If someone's gone, we excuse them, and nothing really happens. I mean, it does have some teeth where, and I don't know the exact verbiage of it, but it says something like if you miss 2 in a row or 3 in a row, that you're going to be 3, then you're going to be censured or something like that. But I mean, we can't be removed from office by not attending meetings.
Yes, you can.
We can be. That's RCW that we can be removed.
That's actually referenced to an RCW, Joe. There's only 3 ways that a city council member can be removed from office. One is the oddly, I don't know why they came up with 3, but it's 3 consecutive regular meetings that were unexcused by council. And it goes on further to say that any council member who contacts the mayor's office by 5 o'clock of the night of the meeting is considered excused. So it's a matter of just public recognition that we ask the council to excuse, and we'll typically tell you, council member X did call in and told us that they wouldn't be there. And I believe it's just there on the books in case somebody just decides to go in absentia and not tell anybody. That's one way. And of course, the other 2 ways is by commission of a crime or by a legally ordered recall petition by the courts.
Sure, understanding those 2, but I guess I was ignorant to the fact that if you do actually miss 3, then my RCW are kicked off. I just find it redundant that we have it in our books that should you miss 3 in a row, we can just excuse you. I personally like it. I don't think that we should have it in there at all, but it's just my thoughts.
You'll have to take that up with the state legislature to change the RCW.
No, I'm talking about in our council manual, but
I don't know if, I mean, if what JW said is correct, is that if somebody calls in or contacts the mayor's office and says, I'm not going to be there, and then he's already automatically excused, then we shouldn't have to vote whether or not to excuse that person, because if that person is excused, according to the RCW, we don't need to vote on it, you know. And if it goes to the 3 and that person is absent for 3 in a row, then, you know, then we start talking about whether or not we should get rid of that person. But I don't even see why we would even need to vote if that person's automatically excused. It's, you know, it's a waste of council's time, basically.
Well, we'll see how it goes. Since it's in the manual and it is supported by RCW, I will continue to let you know at each council meeting if a council member has called in and asked to be excused. You can do with it as you wish.
My only other question on here, and everything else looks really good. I thank you for General Government Committee for cleaning this up and updating it. Was under 7.06 under Code of Ethics. It switched it from the city administrator to the city council and city mayor. Why did it remove the city administrator from all those? Is subject to professional code of ethics as a member of the International City County? Is that cleanup? Does that not exist anymore? Or?
This is the Yelm Mayor and Protocol Manual, and it doesn't, in the mayor council form of government, it doesn't apply to the city administrator, which would be different under the council manager form of government, I believe. But city administrators are held to and I don't remember the acronym, maybe Michael does, he should. There's a very long list. ICMA, thank you. A very long list of ethics that the city administrators are held to, and he has a plaque to prove it.
Sure. I'm just curious why it was in there in the first place. And do you know what the intent was in the beginning?
Actually, if you keep reading on the document and go on to page 33, you see it wasn't deleted. It was just moved. I figured, you know, since it is, as the mayor said, the mayor and the council protocol manual, we shouldn't lead with the city administrator since you all are the leaders of the city. So if you just keep going down to the next page, it actually has all that language there.
You just rearranged it then?
Yep.
And added the city council as well?
Yep.
James or Tracy, we can't see you, but I want to make sure that you've had an opportunity to weigh in on this or make any suggestions, comments.
For me, when I looked it over, like I said, or like a lot of other people said, it was pretty straightforward, just kind of cleaning up, modernizing. A couple of the concerns I have already been addressed, so I don't have anything additionally.
Okay. Tracy?
No, I've had an ample opportunity to go over it, and I'm all right. Thank you.
Yeah, part of the process.
One thing I did like, I thought that y'all did a good job on adding was the attendance via video conferencing. Honestly, with that addition, no one should ever miss a city council meeting just because you can do it from anywhere that there's internet. So I really do like that. It doesn't, and it also takes away the limitations of twice per year, which it currently is at. So I like it.
Even though we missed the fax machine, as Molly pointed out, we
Yep, you can even attend on a motorcycle.
No, unless you're still. Safety first, James.
Always.
So do we need to formally adopt this with the changes in it at like our next city council meeting, or can we just say, hey, it looks good, let's just roll with it from here?
You know, it's not, I believe it would be in the best interest of the council and transparency that we bring this up as an action item at a regular city council meeting, have it agended, have it on the in the packet so the citizens could take a look at it again and comment on it if necessary, and then you could adopt it by resolution. Michael? Yeah.
That also gives me one more opportunity to take the changes that you guys sent, and I'll do the same thing as I did per the request of the General Government Committee, put it in track changes, let you see it. I'll highlight the updated section so that now it's just not more red, but I'll accept all the changes that are here, and then send you out the updated ones with the changes that you've noted here, just to make sure we captured everything okay. And then you guys could take action on it.
And then maybe we could put this on some sort of regularly occurring calendar. You know, every 5 years we come back and look at this thing just to make sure that websites are correct and, you know, technology's been updated, you know, that kind of stuff. I think, I mean, every 2 years might be a little too often, but maybe I think every 5, you know, or if you guys really want to, if you really want to do it more often, you know, go for it.
Well, it's written in as we're supposed to do it every 2 years right now. So, but it might be easier if every 2 years somebody just takes a quick look at it. General Government Committee can glance through it, see if any new technology has come up that we have to, you know, one can beam in for a meeting if they're on the bridge, for example, and it's not paying attention. But yeah, it should be pretty easy to do that.
The other thing I wanted to point out, especially for you, Councilmember Carmody, was, you know, you had brought up earlier, we were talking offline about just the sequence of things, and the General Government Committee worked back when Cody was here and said, hey, let's establish a process for establishing policy. I just wanted to point out to everyone that that is put in in 805, placing items on the agenda, and the city council initiative and policy development process. So taking that language that's already, you guys have already talked about, it's on the website, you're all generally adhering to it, but that has been in there. I know Councilmember Carmody, you also talked about kind of the sequence of things. So I would drill down into that language while we're still editing it and revising it, and make sure that some of the sentiment that you and I talked about is captured there as well.
Yeah, I did notice that. I was wondering, I didn't know if the General Government Committee had thought about this, and if they, you know, thought about it and then, you know, decided not to run with it. But that's sort of the 3 readings thing, you know, where you bring it up the first time at a study session, you have your first reading of the proposed rule at an actual city council meeting, and then it gets postponed until the second city council meeting. And that just gives a lot of transparency and time for the public to respond. I didn't know whether or not you guys had looked at that and whether or not you decided to put that in there.
No, and full disclosure, yeah, and full disclosure, I didn't bring that up to them about our conversation, Councilmember Carmody. That's why I wanted to bring it up now for your sake, so that you can all have that conversation as a council.
So, I mean, what do you guys think? This is, I mean, obviously, I don't think that we have to vote. I mean, we can't vote on it here. We would be voting on it at the next city council meeting as to whether or not we want to make this a policy. Do you guys think that this is a fair thing to do? To do the, you know, the first reading, the second reading, and then the third thing be the final actual vote, to give, you know, the public a chance to respond, to give everybody a chance to sort of change the language if we need to change the language, or think about, you know, different aspects of a potential rule. I think it's a good idea. And I mean, I know that it delays things out by a couple of weeks, but I don't see a problem with that.
I'm fine with that. And I know a lot of times, sometimes like emergency stuff comes up, so we could put some kind of clause in there for what constitutes emergency, to not have to go through that entire process.
Yeah, that's already in there, James. Emergency declarations can be done with less notice by a super majority of the council.
I think that while we do that a lot of times, and I do like it because it does give us an opportunity, but I think making it a steadfast rule kind of limits our ability and it slows the process down. And as we know, government's not overly efficient at times anyhow. So I would like to, I mean, we can keep talking about it, but I think it kind of slows the process a little bit. But I see your point, Molly. I do.
I would have to say I'd agree with Councilmember Stillwell on that. Just that and I'd probably want to hear from the mayor as well on his perspective on it, just from the logistical standpoint from administration. I think it would slow down certain things like contracts. If something's on a deadline, I think it would be unreasonable to speed things up or have them work like a month earlier so they could get this get it passed. That would be my only concern. I like the intent behind it, Molly, but I'm not sure in practicality, and I'd love to hear from the mayor on his perspective on that.
Thanks, Joe. So, we already have a mandate that on certain types of contracts, like we had with the PSE recently, that you have to have two hearings about that. And public hearings on various issues, you have to have at least two opportunities for the public to weigh in. Most of our actions that we ask council to approve do come with timelines associated with them, especially like Joe said, road projects and other contracts that we're awarding. And even if you put it in the manual as it's a recommendation to do 1, 2, or 3 readings, the council still maintains the authority to override that at any given point and call for the vote without a legal requirement as in the PSE contract. So it would be prudent when staff is bringing something forward or council has a question about it to simply ask at the time. The action would be, we'd like to take this forward to another council meeting so we all have time to deliberate on it. That would be voted on by council and moved as appropriate. So the mechanism is in place.
Perhaps we could kind of reach a compromise, and maybe if it's policy oriented, we could have the requirement for the second reading and all that. But if it's contract related, or if it's time sensitive, have it just normal.
Yeah, I'd be okay with that. If it's policy related, stretch it out a little bit, but if it's time sensitive, like contracts, I'm okay with just, shortening it. That's fine.
Could you meet in the middle too and just say that there'll be at least 2, not necessarily 3 readings of policy type, and then of course the council still has the authority to move it to another meeting if they feel like there's still discussion or work that needs to be done. At least 2 readings. Yeah, Molly's good with that. Joe's good.
I like that.
Yeah. Okay.
We'll do
Michael, you want to take the note, please? Yeah, good idea. Okay, very good discussion. Anybody else, or we good? Okay, so
The only thing, Mayor, I wanted to add was just, or not add, but just clarify. I'm up on MRSC about the absenteeism issue. And MRSC says this: removal of a sitting council member for 3 consecutive regular meeting absences. Special meeting absences don't count without being excused for those absences by the council is authorized in RCW 35A 12060. And then this is absolutely the shortest RCW I've ever seen. Vacancy for non-attendance. In addition, a council person shall become vacant if the council member fails to attend 3 consecutive regular meetings of the council without being excused by council. So just notifying someone doesn't count. The council actually does have to take a formal action there. And so I'll review the language to make sure it's consistent with those, but just in case anyone wanted to know what the RCWs were or said, that's what they are.
and let's just hope that doesn't happen. Okay, well then, thank you to the General Government Committee and to Michael and other staff members who participated in cleaning up this important document. It'll come forward to the council next at a regular city council meeting for adoption by resolution. You still have time if you want to pore over it some more, send your suggestions in to Michael, and there'll be, if any changes are made, Michael will send them out to you for review so that you have a complete copy that you'll be voting on at that meeting. Fair enough? All right. Well, good. So that takes us to mayor's report and council initiatives. And I'll tell you, the mayor's report is fairly simple in that in the last couple of weeks, we have been completely dedicated to 3 major things. Keep in mind, there's always 100 other things going on, but working on getting the budget proposal ready for you to look at has been the #1 priority. The CARES Act funding to make sure that we're dotting our I's and crossing our T's with Commerce to make sure we get full reimbursement. Negotiations with 2 of our bargaining units, the Fraternal Order of Police and the Teamsters who represent Public Works, has taken up a lot of our time. And of course, working with our water bills. And I can't resist taking another opportunity to compliment and appreciate our billing department and our Public Works water department staff for the work they did on making sure that we were treating everybody fairly through this water bill issue in July, August. Other than that, my only other thing I just want to brag on a little bit is today I participated in and successfully completed a course put on by the Olympia Visitor and Convention Bureau, and I am now Yelm's first certified tourism ambassador, which is a program that we're working with our destination management organization, which is the Visitor and Convention Bureau in Thurston County and others, to try to spread the word that Thurston County is a cool place to come to, Yelm in particular. So it was a really good exercise, and we also have our communications specialist, Brianna, will be participating in that program through her work with the Leadership Thurston Thurston County class that she's attending presently. So yet another way for us to let people know what great things are happening in Yelm. So from there, I will just go down the row and see if there's any initiatives from council. Unless, Michael, did you have anything you wanted to add? And actually, I do have one more thing.
And no. Back to you, Mayor.
Well, and this is relative to Terry's question earlier. We're still in kind of the flux mode on whether we're going to be virtual or live, coming to you from 106 2nd Street. Just by kind of nod of the head, thumbs up, how many of you, if we were allowed, would be comfortable meeting as a council in person in a larger space like the community center?
Yes.
Okay, that's everybody basically. So yeah, that's what we've been working on. We can't accommodate the spacing and so forth at City Hall, but we could work it out over at the community center. It's just going to take some IT work. So we'll be ready to go if that's the direction that we're allowed to go. Okay, so let's see now. Council member, where are we? Council member Curry.
No initiative.
Council member Carmody.
I have intercity transit tomorrow. That's about it. Public Works, I think, on Thursday. And I am the new recipient of the Certificate for Municipal Leadership. I took all of my classes, so I'm pretty happy about that. Other than that, really a lot going on here.
Congratulations on your CML. All right, Councilmember Blair.
Yeah, I got a couple. Tomorrow's the SWAC meeting, and I sent out. I received today a copy of the draft flow control ordinance that's going to come before the SWAC. I shot that to you guys all. If you want to go over that, give me your opinions on it and what we think about it. And then also,
Hey, James, can I interrupt you for just a second? I want to touch on that for a moment to remind council of something.
go ahead.
Thanks. So remember, council, when you've been assigned to represent Yelm on some of these extraterritorial committees, such as the Solid Waste Advisory Committee, Intercity Transit, and so forth, that your official vote needs to be representative of the council's majority opinion on that. And since we don't have the flow thingy that James sent out on an agenda item to discuss, we don't have an opportunity to present James with an official council opinion on this. So when you make your vote as a SWAC member, James, if that comes up for a vote tomorrow, make sure you identify that this is an opinion vote and not a vote of the city council.
Yep, no problem. I literally I got the email today that had the copy of it. This is the first time I've seen it, other than previously when it was being talked about.
Yeah, thank you. And it's helpful when people, when you get your agendas for these other meetings, if there's something juicy on there that you think the council members should be talking about, bring it to our attention. We'll get it on a study session agenda, or in some way try to find a way to have a discussion about it so that we can arm you with the proper opinion to be made at that meeting. So thank you for the interruption, James. Go ahead and continue.
Oh, I was just going to say this flow control stuff, they've been talking about it for a few months now. And I know that I've brought it up in previous meetings and kind of gave a gist of my understanding of what it was. But this is the first time I'm actually seeing a detailed ordinance of it. So that's why I shot it over to everyone. But other than that, I don't know if anyone else got this, but I got an email from someone and they were talking about that a neighbor with a bunch of garbage in their front yard and stuff and blowing into other neighbors' yards and whatnot. And they were kind of asking what they should do or how they should go about it. So I wanted to ask here, like, what would be the steps to take in that kind of situation? Because this person, it seems like they don't, talking to the person and causing a confrontation isn't the way they want to go. So I'm not quite sure what kind of advice to give them.
Yeah, so that's great. Anytime a council member gets a hold of something like that, when a citizen brings this kind of thing to your attention, please bring it to my attention or Michael's, and we will put it into the hands of the right team. It might be our building official, or it might be something that he has to work with the county health department on, depending on the deal. If it's a camping ordinance, it's something we already have on the books. It depends on what it is, but if in doubt, just give us a shout and we'll try to put it in the right column.
I don't know if this was a BCC or just to me, but I'll forward it to you and then you can kind of let me know what you think.
Excellent.
But other than that, that's it.
Okay. Tad?
I have nothing. Thank you.
Tracy?
No, thank you.
Joe?
Yeah, I just wanted to announce to the council, I don't think the retreat's going to happen now. Heard back from all but one of you, and 3 or 2 of you said that you weren't attend it, and haven't heard from the other. So we only had 4 confirmed. And I don't think that's. I spoke to the other council members that had said that they were able to go, and most of them didn't want to attend if it was just 4 of us. So we're not going to have it. I'm going to pull away on my efforts from this to make this happen. It just seems like an uphill battle that isn't going to happen. So I'm just going to pull back. The only other thing I had was that I was disappointed. We talked, and we'll probably talk about it at city council meeting some, but in our Economic Development Committee, the Yelm one. And we pretty much understood the procedures and processes for bringing a drive-through and changing some of our ordinances so that this was basically allow a local pharmacy in the middle of town to open up with a remodel with a drive-through in there. And just through regulations and due to the planning commission only meets once a year regarding these type of changes, which I know there's a couple of council members on this committee that had some frustrations with that. That business can't do it, even think about doing it until next year. So I'm disappointed that I'm sad that we couldn't move a little bit faster on it or ask the planning commission to move faster on it, but it doesn't look like it's possible. So sad to say
Wait,
that that's probably not gonna happen.
I'm confused. Is that, I mean, the planning commission reports to council, is that correct? I mean, we able
Hold on, folks.
to,
Hold on. I want Grant to be able to provide some context for how this works. There's actually a legal process we have to follow as a city on our comp plan. So Grant, can you step in, please?
Surely. And you're correct. Under the Growth Management Act, development regulations and the comp plan are limited to one time a year to be updated. And the reason is to basically, and we talked about this at the committee, the reason is to basically be able to look at everything comprehensively rather than piecemeal. So the UDC has already gone through the update cycle this year, so it would be next year, the earliest docket. It's called the update docket.
But that doesn't mean that the planning commission can't discuss it prior to that. I mean, they can't pass it and pass it along to the city council, but they can still discuss it and have, saying, yeah, we're going to do this in January 1. So it would give the businesses, the pharmacy in this case, a little, what's the word I'm looking for? They can plan around it so they can understand that, okay, it's very likely to happen rather than have to wait and hold their plans up for 4 or 5 months until it gets passed, if it gets passed.
They could consider it ahead of time and know that it's coming, but the docket is open until the end of the year. So that we can't schedule hearings, Jan 1 or Jan 2, obviously, because not everything's in and we don't have the docket created and scheduled yet. So, which is why, as I indicated, it's the first quarter, into the first quarter is when we typically try to get that to the planning commission for the required public hearing.
But since you have submitted that appropriately, Joe, that will be considered by the planning commission at their earliest scheduled meeting. And so yes, it's not that it's not going to happen. It is going to happen. The discussion will happen. It's just going to have to happen on that timeline.
Oh, I didn't understand it. So they are going to discuss it at their next planning commission, just not vote on it until next year for the comp plan.
That's not what I said. They'll be able to discuss it at their next comp plan meeting. They can certainly discuss it as, but it won't come up as an action item until the comp plan is talked about.
But nothing. What he's saying is nothing else needs to be done to get it on the docket. We will
That's
be doing this as part of the process.
It's in queue.
Yeah, but I mean, is it possible they could talk about it though? Just talk about it at the planning commission, discuss it.
Absolutely.
Could you request that, or how do I request that?
Well, I think you already have. And staff will bring that up to their attention at the next planning commission meeting so that they know that this is an issue that they can maybe do some thinking about, some research on. But again, can't come up legally officially until that later date.
Thank you for that. And that's all I had to report.
Okay. Let's see. Who's Terry?
Thanks. Okay, I just wanted to start by thanking Joe for the efforts that he put into the retreat. And I'm really sad that we're not going to have it because I think it would have been very, very valuable. I really, really do. So maybe next year. And I'm not sure, but in that document we were reviewing, I thought it said the last retreat was in 2002. Is that possible? That was like, no? Okay.
Just when it was updated, I think. 2005 is when it was updated. 2002, I think, is when it was created.
Maybe next year. And I did attend my state of rejuvenation for the city seminar. There was a ton of information. I have to review everything before I can even report on what they said, but it was very, very good. And then I had a constituent email me literally about 2 minutes before the meeting about something called Agenda 2023. And she's asking me, is Yelm part of this? I have to look at what she sent me and review it. I think it's an extension of Agenda 21, which is the Thurston Sustainable Thurston County program. So I did get a question on that. And like James said, again, just before I logged in, a gentleman asked, and I don't know if this went to everybody or just me, but it was from a gentleman with some type of alcoholic support group wanting permission to put his link on the city website for people having trouble during COVID with substance abuse. So I can send that to you, Mayor Foster, if you like.
Yes, please.
Whether we put that on or not. So
we'll take a look at that, and if appropriate, we'll add that to our list of community connections.
Okay. Yep. Thank you. That's all I have.
Molly?
Yeah, I actually just remembered something. Are you done, Terry?
Yes.
I didn't want to step on your feet. Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
I've had a couple of people reach out to me about accessory dwelling units, and they are a little confused by all of the regulations. I was wondering if there's enough money in our budget for the staff to create an easy to read pamphlet or brochure that they can just hand out to citizens saying, hey, you know, here are the rules that you are going to have to follow. Here are the hoops that you're going to have to jump through in this specific order. Because I think what people don't understand is, well, where do I get my permits from Yelm in the order of, you know, getting the thing designed by the architect and finding the contractor? Where does Yelm come in that? And what is the whole process? Because people are really confused by this thing. And I mean, I get it. It's not easy. But if we could kind of help steer them in the right direction with an easy to understand timeline, that would be really helpful. And I think it would cut down on questions that, you know, the staff have to probably answer on a pretty regular basis.
That is a really great suggestion. And we do have the staff capacity to put something together after budget is over. We'll turn a couple of people onto that. It's all there. It's just like you're saying, it needs to be consolidated into a easy to read form so people can have a path. Yeah. Very good.
Were these for tiny homes specifically, or just any ADU, Molly?
They were just any ADUs. Like I have a friend who has a garage that she's not using. It's a separate building from her house, and she'd like to turn it into like a mother-in-law building, but she's not sure where Yelm falls in the process. You know, does it come before the architect, after the architect, before the contractor, after the contractor? That, you know, so, and she feels like she's spinning her wheels trying to get questions answered, and in what order. So that kind of thing would be really helpful. I think it's just, I mean, for any ADU, basically.
I offered to do a prototype on my city lot for a detached ADU, but Tammy looked it up and said I don't have the right setbacks, and I have a pretty big city lot, so that didn't work. But I know the city of Seattle had pre-approved ADUs that if you wanted one, it was like a slam dunk, just go in there and get it. It was already pre-approved. They had about 4 different types that you could just go walk into City Hall at Seattle and get them done. So if people were going that route, I thought that was a great idea.
More work to be done. I see James has a comment.
Yeah, in reference to the ADUs, why don't we look at what Tacoma did recently, where they opened it up and you can build ADUs on your property. And honestly, that should be the decision of each property owner, not anyone else. So, and if anything, it helps to build more affordable housing in the area where apartment complexes aren't serving. So something to look at. I mean, I'll try and figure out what their ordinance was on it and shoot it over to everyone if you want to look at it. Because I know that's what a friend of mine that lives out there, that's what they're doing, is they're planning on building the
If I could respond,
Yeah, go ahead, Mom.
James. James, we already do allow ADUs. We allow them in many different forms. It's just a matter of following the rules. You know, are you going to have enough septic capacity? That's the big one that, you know, everybody says, well, I've got a 3-bedroom house and a 3-bedroom septic. You can't just drop an ADU onto your lot because you'll be overwhelming your septic tank. So you have to either, you know, take one of your bedrooms, you know, deregulate one of the bedrooms in in your house and call it a 2-bedroom house with a den and an ADU. I mean,
Our sewer system doesn't work that way.
we
Though, does it?
do allow ADUs, and the rules are, you know, they're there for a reason, but we do allow them. So
Yeah.
Gotcha. So it's more of like they're confused on the process.
Yeah, that's part of it. And I just have to check in, make sure. Grant, are you okay?
Yeah.
Okay, because as soon as you start talking about changing zoning and building codes, Grant falls out of his chair and squirms around like Mo. And but it sounds like he's okay.
Everybody talking about putting a brochure together, and that's Brianna, so that's your problem.
So those things are looked at, James, and yeah, Molly's points are very well taken. But still, by putting this brochure together that can explain the process, some of those questions would be answered as well. And it's like, why can't I have a chicken coop in my backyard? Well, your next door neighbor doesn't want to smell your chickens while they're barbecuing. You know, there's a lot of spatial kind of things that go into these neighborhoods, and the zoning was made to you know, keep everybody happy in a community.
And
that
recall that one of the changes was to allow chickens, but not roosters. So
that's right. I remember my call was for a chicken in every lot. It never caught on.
All my neighbors got them.
Kind of going off that too, we could reach out to some organizations that could help us out with some of these model ordinances or whatever policies that we could come up with. I'm meeting tomorrow. Just happened to be meeting with the Olympia Master Builders government relations director, and I could ask her if she'd come up with some suggestions, perhaps for us to consider. And Molly, if you think that would help out at all. I know they're very involved with building houses and the regulations with that goes around them. So perhaps they could give us a model ordinance so we could consider, discuss.
Yeah, we'll look forward to seeing that. Terry?
Regarding Molly's statement, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I was under the understanding that if you're on a city sewer system, doesn't matter how many bedrooms you have in your house. Is that true? I can have a 5-bedroom house or a 2-bedroom house. I'm on city sewer. So
if I can answer for Cody, he's on and he can jump in if he wants
okay.
to. But
yeah, no, I'm like
our sewer system is the first step is basically a septic tank, and those are sized for a certain number of bedrooms. I believe it's 4 by standard, but if you went over that, then yes, you would have to provide additional tankage.
Okay. Thanks for the clarification.
Very good. All right, good discussion, good study session. I do have one good of the order. I wanted to share that the Bloodworks Northwest had another very successful community blood drive on the 1st and 2nd in our community center, and they are so appreciative because they can't do their blood mobiles anymore because of the spacing requirements for COVID-19. So being able to use the community center and space out their donor sites, they were able to register 65 donors, collected from 58 of them, 54 units of whole blood and 4 double red units, which means that that's going to impact the lives of about 180 patients in our regional community. And mind you, Bloodworks Northwest just supplies blood products to the basically the South Sound, so your blood stays here. They support the needs of about 90 different hospitals in our area. So really cool. And then on a personal best, I actually bested my old record, and I gave my pint in 4 minutes and 32 seconds. So
did you have to take a COVID test?
So, oh, good point. No, but they are testing everybody's, they do a pretty good screening process. You know, you can't have had certain things, but they're testing everybody's blood for COVID-19 antibodies all the way through October. So, and they'll let you know if you are positive, then that makes you a candidate to donate plasma, which they could then use potentially as convalescent plasma in the treating of people with active COVID-19. So pretty cool stuff. Anyway, any other goods of the order? Then thank you, everybody. Thank you to the 6 attendees from the community who stayed through our study session, and I hope we'll see you at another